You ever watched a Rajnikant movie where he flips a cigarette midair, lights it with a spark from thin air, and the villain flies off like he's been hit by a goddamn train? Full on theater, zero logic. That's exactly the vibe you get reading the classic 350s brochure. They say 20.2 brake horsepower at 6100 RPM. Sounds heroic, right? But take it on the road, a proper ride, not showroom spins, and suddenly it feels more like 17 horses on chai break. Good effort, but let's be honest, something's missing between the crank and the concrete. Don't get me wrong, I bloody love my classic. She's got charm, character, and enough talk to pull your heartstrings. But BHP, that's a slippery number, bro. And today we're pulling it apart. No spreadsheets, no Dyno graphs shoved down your throat, just real talk between riders, like over a highway dhaba stop, sipping cutting chai, staring at your bike and wondering, "Abhe ye 20 horsepower kahan gaya?" It's like your class 10 exam. You wrote every damn answer, filled extra sheets and still came back with 62%. And your mom's like, "Beta, baki marks kidhar gaye?" That's drivetrain loss, ma.
Bloody hell, mate, that's spot on. I remember my old CBZ, revved like hell, sounded fast, went nowhere. Same story. Big promises, small delivery.
That right there is Chris, my usual suspect on the mic, rider of the Interceptor 650, occasional Enfield troll, and full-time Dyno mythbuster.
I mean, look, every brand does it. You code BHP at the crank under lap conditions, but by the time it's gone through your clutch plates, your gearbox, the chain and sprocket, tire grip, maybe a pigeon perched on your mirror, you've lost a solid 15 to 17% of it. Poof, gone.
And what you get at the wheel, the rear wheel, that's what actually pulls you. That's the power your tire puts down on the tarmac when you're gunning it in second gear at a green light next to some overconfident active uncle.
Yeah, and you wonder why he's still neck and neck at 40 kmph.
Because you're riding with 17 HP, not 20. The other three are busy sipping filter coffee at the crankshaft.
Beautifully said.
So today we are tearing into this. Classic 350, official numbers versus real-world dyno results, but also, does it even bloody matter? Because somehow, even with under 17 HP at the wheel, this bike still pulls like a dream when you're not chasing time.
It's that torque curve, man, low and grunt. You don't feel the numbers, you feel the rhythm. It's like jazz for your throttle hand.
Exactly. We'll talk numbers, but more importantly, we'll talk feel. Because that's what the Classic 350 is really about, isn't it? Mate, it's never been a spec sheet bike. It's a soul bike. I like that. Soul bike. Might steal it for a t-shirt someday. Just give me royalties, huh? I've got Interceptor maintenance bills. Fair. Alright riders, let's roll into segment 2. Up next, we are breaking down what the brochures say, what the dynos reveal, and where that missing BHP is really hiding.
Alright,
Spoiler alert,
start with the
it's not in
basics.
your garage.
Royal Enfield says the new J Series Classic 350 makes 20.2 bhp at 6100 rpm. Now, let's break that down for the uninitiated. Brake horsepower, or BHP, is measured right at the crank. That's the engine, naked, nothing attached. No chain, no gearbox, no friction. It's like measuring your squat PR without including the barbell. Or your Tinder height without shoes.
Oh yeah, and maybe standing on your chappals with rocks on, just for added optimism.
Bloody accurate, bro. But yeah, that's the claim, 20.2 bhp. Now, if you've been riding long enough, you'd know that what matters is not what's on the crank, but what reaches the rear wheel. And that's where dyno tests come in. So, for those of you wondering, a dynamometer or dyno is basically this machine you roll your bike onto, strap it down, and rev it through the gears. It measures the real power that reaches the rear wheel, like what's actually hitting the tarmac. And with the Classic 350, multiple independent runs have shown something kind of consistent.
Yeah, it's not like one-off stuff. We're talking dyno runs from magazines, YouTubers, tuners, and they all clocked it somewhere between 16.8 to 17.2 horsepower at the wheel.
That's what, about 15 to 17% loss from the claimed figure?
Exactly. And honestly, that's not shady. That's normal. Most chain-driven single-cylinder bikes will lose a chunk of power through the drivetrain. There's friction in the clutch, power drop in the gearbox, drag from the chain, resistance at the wheel, you name it.
And let's not forget tire pressure. You run low PSI on that rear tire and suddenly your Classic feels like it's dragging a dead buffalo.
Bro, been there. Once did a Sunday breakfast ride with a rear tire at 18 psi. I thought the engine was dying. Turned out the tire was just emotionally unavailable.
Classic.
But jokes apart, 17 horsepower is not bad. It's just honest. What Royal Enfield quotes is what the engine makes in isolation. What you feel is what the tire is delivering after running the obstacle course of mechanical resistance.
Yeah, and one thing people forget is peak horsepower is a one-moment thing. It's that tiny window when the revs, throttle and combustion all align perfectly. But you don't ride a bike at peak bhp all the time. You ride in the mid-range where the torque lives.
Oh yes, that's where the Classic shines. The torque comes in nice and early, around 2000 to 4000 RPM, and that's where it pulls. Not fast, but clean, smooth, like a calm uncle overtaking you on a highway while humming Kishore Kumar.
Yeah, man, you're not chasing speed, you're soaking in rhythm. And that's why even with just 17 horses, the Classic feels so much better than what the dyno sheet says.
Also, let's be real. When you're riding through the hills or along coastal roads, you're not thinking about numbers. You're just vibing with the machine. There's a reason Enfields get named. It becomes less of a machine, more of a character in your story, no?
Absolutely. Mine's called Maggie. Don't ask why. Long story.
We'll save that for another episode. But yeah, this whole obsession with BHP numbers, it's a modern internet thing. In real life, the only number that should matter is how many rides you've taken that made you forget the time.
Or the ones where you didn't care about the destination, just the feeling of the thump.
Yeah, man. So, if you're still worried your Classic makes only 17 horsepower, chill. That's all it needs. And honestly, when you open it up in third and that thumb starts rolling, you won't even remember the number. You'll remember the grin though. Exactly. Coming up next, we'll talk about how this BHP drop actually feels on the road. We'll talk gears, throttle response, and why that second gear pull still makes you feel like a badass even if you're technically slower than an i20. Spoiler, it's not about speed, it's about style.
And soul, bro. The Classic 350 is making about 17 horsepower at the wheel. The real question is, how does it actually feel when you're out there riding?
And mates, let's be honest, it doesn't feel slow, does it?
Exactly. That's the weird part. You think 17 horsepower? Sounds like a scooter with attitude. But then you're on the saddle, thumping through second gear, and there's this surge. Not violent, not buzzy, just this nice, strong, confident pull. It's that low-end torque, man. That's the secret sauce. Most of the Classic's 27 Nm of torque comes in super early, around 4000 RPM or even below. So you don't need to ring the throttle or keep downshifting all the time. It's just twist and go. Yeah, like in city traffic, right? You're rolling in second or third, some dude suddenly brake checks in front of you, and instead of panicking and dropping a gear, you just ease off, coast and gently get back on the throttle. And boom, she pulls clean.
Oh, totally. I've ridden the Classic in Bangalore traffic, man. Absolute madness. But even in that chaos, the engine's vibe is calm. Like, don't worry, bro. I got this. Chilla there. I'll pull through. Yeah, it's got this mellow grunt. You're not flying off the line, but you never left behind either. And that's the thing. It's tuned for usable power. Power you can feel without trying to find the red line every few seconds. And bro, forget the speedo. You hit 60 in third, engines humming, bikes vibing, and you feel like you're doing 100 emotionally. Oh man, that's true. On an Enfield, 60 feels right, like spiritually aligned.
And then there's that roll-on magic. Like if you're cruising at say 40 kilometers per hour in third and you twist the throttle, the response is so thumpy. The engine doesn't scream, it just pushes. Like, let's go.
It's torque that does the talking, not the revs. That's why this bike never feels like it's gasping for breath. Even uphill, especially if you got your throttle game right, the Classic pulls in this beautifully linear way.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like riding with an older cousin on a bullet when you were a kid. You're not going fast, but the pull, the feel of the engine working beneath you, that made you feel like a hero.
Yeah, it's not about aggression, it's about presence. There's a difference. Exactly. It's the kind of bike that doesn't shout, it just announces itself. Like entering a room without speaking, and still everyone looks up.
And you know what? That smoothness, it's a huge part of the feel too. The new J-Series engine is way more refined than the older UC motor. You can sit at 70-80 kmph for hours, bro. No tingling in your palms, no numb knees, no need to stop every 50 kilometers for a shakeout.
Yeah, the thump is still there, but it's evolved. Less vibration, more character. It's like the engine's matured, no?
Like a punk kid who grew up, got a job, still listens to AC/DC, but also pays his EMIs on time.
Best description of the J series I've ever heard.
So yeah, sure, the dyno says only 17 horsepower, but the throttle says, "Arey chill da, I'll handle it." And that feeling.
That's why the classic still wins hearts, man. It's not about being fast, it's about feeling full. Full throttle, full soul, full vibe.
Alright, up next, we'll tackle a hot one. Everyone's favorite chai tapri debate. Should BHP even matter for Royal Enfield riders? And do we need more? Or are we already riding the sweet spot? Spoiler, more horsepower doesn't always mean more happiness. But yeah, let's argue about it anyway.
Here's the million-rupee question.
Bring it on.
Should BHP even matter to the average Royal Enfield rider?
Okay. See, I'll be honest. There was a time when I really cared. Like proper Google rabbit hole types, horsepower comparisons, torque charts, why my bike feels slower than the numbers kind of obsession. But now, I care more about how the bike feels between 30 and 80. That's the real riding zone, duh.
Exactly. And let's not pretend we're doing track days on classics, right? This isn't a Ninja or a Duke. It's not built for lap times. It's built for wipes per minute.
Wipes per minute, bro. I love that. Wipes per minute. That's going on a sticker.
You better trademark it before someone makes an Instagram handle. But seriously, look at where we ride. Twisty ghats, bumpy highways, sudden cows in the middle of nowhere. Do you really need 40 horsepower for that? No way! In fact, sometimes too much BHP is more stress. You're constantly checking throttle input, worrying about wheel spin, or thinking, bro, will I get full use of this engine without dying?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the classic. It's approachable. You don't need to be a Rossi to enjoy it. You can be a dentist from Karol Bagh who rides only on Sundays and still feel like you're riding something special.
Bro, I know a retired uncle in my area who's 65, has a chrome classic. Every Sunday he gears up, gloves, boots, proper helmet, and just rides 10 kilometers to have chai near the leak. That's it. He's living his damn movie. And he never once asked about BHP.
That's the thing. These bikes are not built for data. They are built for rituals, for emotion, for memory.
Like the thump of the engine becomes part of your weekend, or your commute, or your healing after a long day.
Yeah, man. And we've all had that moment where you're riding solo, golden light coming through the trees, classic humming beneath you. And what 10 seconds, everything in life makes perfect sense. You don't check your speed, you don't care about power, you just are.
Bloody hell, man. Getting poetic now, are we?
What to do, da? These bikes bring it out of you. They are like old friends. May not always impress strangers, but they know exactly how to calm your chaos.
That right there is why BHP is secondary. Ride feel is primary. Connection, character, comfort, all those things that don't show up in a spec sheet.
That's why, whenever someone asks me, bro, should I go for something more powerful? I say, depends. Do you want to ride fast or do you want to ride far?
Ooh, that's a banger.
I've had time to think about it. Too many solo rides, too much highway philosophy.
Hey, I'm guilty too. I've had faster bikes, but the one that gave me the most stories, my old Bullet 500. Heavy as a truck, slow as hell, but man, I remember every ride.
That's it, bro. It's not about power. It's about presence. The classic may not talk charts, but it tops hearts.
Damn right. And if that means sacrificing 3 horsepower to the gods of drivetrain, so be it.
Sacrifice at the altar of chain and sprocket.
With incense and chain loop.
Alright, so up next in the final segment, we'll bring it all home. Final thoughts, real talk, and maybe a little advice for riders obsessing over numbers.
Because sometimes what you feel on the saddle is way more powerful than what the dyno says.
Stay with us.
First of all, respect. You're either really into BHP talk or just love hearing two blokes rant about torque and chai. Either way, welcome to the family, da.
Yeah, props to you. If horsepower debates were a sport, this episode was like the World Cup final with filter coffee.
Exactly. But let's land this thing. Final takeaway, Brochure BHP is not a lie. It's just selectively optimistic. It's measured under perfect conditions in a world where nothing rubs, scrapes, resists or slows you down. But we, my friend,
Ride in the real world.
With potholes, dust, pillion riders, pani puri stalls mid-corner, and oh yeah, 17 real horses that are bloody good at their job.
And honestly, that's enough. More than enough if you ask me. The Classic isn't here to win drag races or set lap records. It's here to make you fall in love with the ride again.
Yeah, man. And if you ever feel the urge for more power, just remember, there's always a faster bike. But there's rarely one that'll feel quite the same.
Let the ninjas and dukes scream past you. Let the bros on R15s try to red line at every traffic light. You're thumping steady, riding clean, and arriving with style. That's the Classic way.
And to all our listeners obsessing over dyno numbers, it's cool to be curious, but don't let it ruin the magic. Ride the bike, feel it, and then decide if it speaks to you.
Yeah, test rides, solo rides, Sunday morning chaos rides. That's why you learn the truth. Not from a stat sheet, not from a YouTube review, from the road under your tire and the engine under your seat.
And hey, if you really want to make your bike faster, start with your heart. Fall in love with the machine. Everything else will feel lighter.
Damn, look at you getting all poetic now.
I blame the thump, mate. It's like a metronome for midlife clarity.
Oh, love that. All right, final thoughts from me. Ride whatever you love. Know your numbers, sure. But don't chase them like gospel. Your bike isn't just metal and maths. It's memories, mood swings, morning escapes, and midnight ideas.
And chai, lots of roadside chai.
Yes, always. And with that, we wrap today's ride.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. Whether you're on a Classic 350, a Thunderbird, or even a borrowed Splendor, keep thumping, keep riding, and keep chasing stories, not just stats.
This has been the Common Thump, where torque meets talk and BHP meets banter.
Until next time.
May your chain stay lubed, your tires stay true, and your soul always outpace your spec sheet.
And hey, if someone asks, "Kitna deti hai?" just smile and twist the throttle.